Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Dustin, and this week we're going to be reviewing the Nortel Major Burner with a pre-mix top fire. And this torch is by Nortel, and we definitely want to thank Mountain Glass Arts for shipping us this torch and letting us do a review on it. And this torch will be available, this very torch that I'm using will be available through them. And thank you Nortel for making a good introductory torch, introductory torch to the market. The recommended pressures for this torch is like 2 to 5 on the gas, the propane, and about 5 to 8 or 10 on the oxygen. You guys can play with those pressures for your own personal work. So as you guys have seen, we've been doing a lot of torch reviews, and you know, the idea is to go through all the torches available in the market and let you guys see the flame characteristics of each one of those torches so that you'll be informed when you're buying your torches. If you've never seen one, or if there's not a studio near you, we can check out a particular torch and see the different flames and you know, watch the working characteristics. Hopefully these videos and these series of videos should be able to demonstrate that as best it can through a video. And so I try to put on a variety of different flames and make a simple piece. So I'm making a clear spoon in each one of these videos because it's like a very neutral standard, and you'll be able to see that same clear spoon, the same set of techniques on each different kinds of torch, so that way you can get an idea of like how clear would move faster or slower in a certain torch, which the same ratio would apply to color or different kinds of work. Is that on one torch it's going to be faster, it's going to heat quicker, on the other torch it's going to be slower. You know, you'll get to see the different levels of precision, which is universal through all different kinds of pieces that you would make, whether they're color or clear or hollow or solid. The ratio will all stay the same. So that's why I chose to do a clear spoon. And that's what I'm going to do for you guys right now, is I'm going to make a clear spoon, and we're going to see how this torch works. There's two flames on this torch. So a lot of people have seen, like on a GTT or Herbert Arnold or Carlisle, where there's one face, and like the Bethlehems that we just reviewed, there's one face, and then you have a small flame, a medium flame, maybe a large flame that comes all out of the same face. This torch is a slightly different concept, and that's having a small torch on top and your larger torch on the bottom. The benefit of this torch is that you get a huge variety of flames for a very low price. So it's great for students, it's great for an introduction to glassblowing, to spend a little bit of money and see if you like it before you invest a lot in a very expensive torch. So the disadvantage is that there's more different kinds of faces with different heats coming out. So it's not like I can adjust just the small one, this medium one, to a small flame. I would move it up here to adjust it to the small flame. So it's pretty minor, but that's really the difference. You can see the top is on, and this is what kind of flame it's going to get you. You can see it's a really nice even flame. It's not that dense of a heat, so looking at the flame I can see right through it. So I know just by looking at it that it's going to be a cooler flame. And if I turn it up a little bit more, it gets a little bit denser, and then I can see that now this is a hotter flame and more precise. And you know, it can go to about like this or something without it really getting too low for the torch, and that's a pretty precise flame. And then your outer flame, or your under flame in this case, you can turn it on and it will ignite by the first torch, and then you turn that on, and then you can turn this torch off. So then you'd be working on this flame. It's really interesting, this flame, the jets are in a square pattern. You can see that all that face there is making a really nice square pattern. The candles are really nice and even, and you can go, you know, about this big with this torch and get about that small. So you can see that that's basically a little bit bigger than this one, but a little bit more denser heat. And then when you want to switch back to your other work, you go back here. And you know, one of the only differences is that you're going to have to ignite the torches back and forth, as opposed to just having it stay lit and adjusting the size. So here we go, we'll make this pipe. So just using the smaller pre-mix flame to start out. Heat up the jacks just a little bit. Flare that open. And now go in for the heat here. We'll turn the big flame on for this. Really good thing about this torch is that you can put in any variety of flame really that the torch can produce, and you're not going to damage the torch. Whereas like the GTT, you have a specific flames that you shouldn't use because it will hurt the torch. So we're just heating up the front of this. This is almost hot. We'll get ready to connect that. This is a nice hot flame. The glass is moving fairly quickly and getting hot enough, which is really nice. So just make your seal, and then we go back to the little flame. So you can see that you're going to have to do this kind of balancing a little bit with this kind of torch. But it's still really important to use the flame size that's best for your work. So because I'm going to heat up a small detailed area, I use the small flame. Now we're going to do a flame cut, where again I'll need the small flame. Holding it steady, letting the condensation burn off first, and then slowly moving it around. So this one is a little bit less of a dense flame, so it's going to take a little bit longer to heat things up, which is another really good advantage to this torch, is that as a beginner, when you're learning to blow glass, it's going to move a little bit slower. So that'll get you to control. The control will be a little bit easier. Although it'll melt things down a little slower, you will have more time to make your decisions on how to move it, knowing that it's moving just a little bit slower. Just taking this off so it's all nice and ready for the next demonstration. And back to the big flame. Turn off the little one. This torch is actually a version of this torch, this one wasn't available at the time, but a version of this torch is the first torch that I ever used blowing glass. And the torch was just this bottom part, and it was called the mid-range burner. I'm not sure they still have it anymore, but it was basically just this bottom torch was the only thing that I had, and the very first torch that I got. I spent 2 years using it before I got my next torch, which was a Carlisle. And then I spent 5 or 7 years on that Carlisle, and then I got my first GTT. And I was in the first order of GTTs as they started selling them to the public. Mine was in the first run of Deltas. So there's a Marver right next to me. I'm just going to put it on the table so I have that. And to me this looks like it's a little bit off center, so what I'm going to do is heat it up right around the base, and so now it's loose around the base. I'm just going to put it on the Marver and turn, so that way I can kind of push it back on center. Next thing that we're going to do is heat up the center part of this piece, so I'm going to attach a punny so that I'll have control. Attach a punny there. And we'll start heating up the center. It's back and forth. This torch has a pretty wide throw, so I don't need to worry as much as some of the other ones that I've shown you guys on going back and forth as much. This will heat up almost the whole area that I want just by holding it straight, and that's an advantage to having a nice hot flame. So heating it all up and letting it condense just a little bit and then pull. So there we go, we basically have the shape of a pipe all ready to go. I'll let that cool. The other thing to mention about this torch is that you would need to have a special adapter, which I believe they make, because these two are connected. So the propane comes through this copper tube, and I'm pretty sure that there's an adapter that would have 4 plugs, and that way you could turn on and off these torches with a foot pedal, which makes a lot of sense as opposed to having to go and ignite a flame like this. But you might want to think about a foot pedal or getting a version of this torch that had 4 inlets as opposed to 2. So we're heating up this mouthpiece now, and I'm just going to make a Maria. So I'm heating it up, and it's heating up nice and slow, so it's going to be an even heat. I'm pushing a little bit. You can see it getting thicker. I'm pushing. So we have a Maria. And now I'm going to go in with a little flame and see if I can't stretch that where I'm going to detach it a little bit. So I'm going to try to heat up here and get this point ready for taking it off the flame when the pipe is all done. So yeah, I'm heating it up and condensing it right where I'm going to want to take this off. There we go. Now we'll heat this up and take off the punny, and we'll get ready to blow the bowl. Now we'll go back to the large flame. So as it's heating up, I'll be able to remove this excess glass from the tip here. Alright, so now we're just going to heat this up and melt down the bowl, and that's going to be just condensing this down and then blowing it out a couple times. And in case you guys were wondering, the glass sizes that I'm using are 25 millimeter or 26 millimeter heavy wall tubing and 12 millimeter heavy wall tubing, and then the punny is I would guess 7 millimeters, but people use generally between 5 and 7 or 5 and 8 for their punny sizes, depending on the size of their hand and the work that they're doing. So just heat that up and blow a little bit. I'm going to turn it up a little bit and try to get that to melt a little faster, just to show you guys. So I'm letting it condense. And blowing out. There we go, we have the bubble. And now we're going to go back to the small flame. So just heat this up a little bit and poke where you want the bowl to be and pull out a little bit, the hole. All right, there's the hole. And now we'll go back to the big flame. Just go in and push. Turn a little bit. You got your hole. And you can go in and clean that up a little bit from any lines that maybe the graphite put in. And now heat up where you want the carb to be. You can do that on the top flame or the bottom flame. More detail will be on the top flame. And now we're just going to heat the bottom where it'll be flat. And push that down like that. Now we have a flat bottom. And you guys can see this torch works really well, that it's a solid torch and that it's great for beginners. I would totally recommend this torch to somebody starting out, or to like for extra torches in your studio for friends and family. Grab your diamond shears, knock that off. Now you can melt this in. And there's your spoon. And this spoon is for one of you guys that will actually come with this particular torch. Mountain Glass does have these torches, and you can check out the kits that I recently built for Mountain Glass, which has all the tools that you would need to start out in different price levels depending on what your budget is, but it would come complete with everything you need besides glass. So thanks again, Mountain Glass Arts, for sending us these torches to review, and thank you, Nortel. It's a great torch. It has a really specific and useful purpose, so thanks for that. And if you have any questions, comments, leave them in the video. Subscribe for more videos. If you learned anything or enjoyed the video, give us a thumbs up. Thanks a lot. Have a good one.